time, they are not progressive thinkers. They don't really think outside the box. They really regurgitate what they've learned on their first degrees at LSE and Oxford, which is really a body of neoliberal thinking.
Okay,
which doesn't really.
But let's get to the figures then. Let's cut to the chase. Where does the cash come from?
Well, look, as far as the cash is concerned, our previous Prime Minister quite interestingly said that
see that
don't
cigar,
have a
do you?
money
But
cigar. Obviously, the government is able
see
to
that. Let's
find
see. I don't know if I can get that. Let me use my torch.
But this is 80 billion. 83 billion. Where am I going to find 83 billion?
83 billion if we stop sort of wars.
It's one of these cigars.
First to start with.
That you see that.
Money.
There you go.
If we sort of do not support the bankers to bail them out like we did in 2008. All these factors have to be taken into consideration.
We went offline now, so more information.
We've had austerity
not receiving enough video maintenance.
Whether they're neoliberal
retain smooth streaming such as views or will experience buffering. So views and I also as buffering. Why? Let me check my OBS. The OBS is still on.
Just like the Labour Party,
I don't know what's going on there, so let me check my glasses.
Of the population.
Okay, and
the stream's still going
and
we're still
population. So 50% rate for people who earn 125,000
and that sounds okay, yes.
45 pence in the rate for 80,000. These aren't the super rich people, are they? These are. This is still the middle. Some of the middle classes that you're going to affect, which are people who could vote for the Labour Party.
Yes,
and
potentially they could vote for the Labour Party, but I think
we've got RT live on obviously. So let's hashtag. We got a Twitch one. We've got Twitch one. Plus the tab.
That I will aspire to become that 1%.
And we go on the Twitter account.
Those 5% or the 4% can't really be with that 1% where the 99% have been disenfranchised from really participating in the economy in any significant way. Because we have this term in UK now for the last 10 years of the working poor, where people are actually working but don't have enough income to really make their ends meet on a weekly basis.
But looking then, as you say, it's all about balancing, as you say, trying to effectively redistribute some of the money. But in terms of the big spend, we're looking at big projects, aren't we? Like renationalisation, not just rail, but also some of the utilities. Where are we going to get the initial capital?
Well, look, as far as the initial capital is concerned, the government has the ability to print money. The government has the ability to borrow money. And that gets invested in the economy. And sometimes, economists do a disservice by saying that, we have to compare it with ordinary people. We can't borrow too much. We can't sort of max out our credit card. But the government is not an individual person. The government can really actually print money, invest that into infrastructure projects, which create employment, which in turn brings the revenue into the coffers, and in effect continues what the economists call the multiplier effect happens into the economy.
And at that point, a fascinating term, the multiplier economy, I like that. Shabir Raspberry, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And
more news after the break.
No, and then I'll see that assassin. Right. And I'll see the hashtag RT news. Okay, so you can check it out on there. And I think that's enough to tweet that. See what happens, see if we get any viewers.
3 for 2 on our exquisite collection of handcrafted shutters. 3 for 2 on our intuitive smart blinds, effortlessly adjusted at the touch of a button. And 3 for 2 on our luxury collection of Roman blinds. Don't miss out. Our Black Friday event ends on the 2nd of December. Call 0800 688 8133 now or visit our website to book your personal design consultation. Thomas Sanderson, the beauty of bespoke.
Copy.
With direct bullion, you can start your collection of loose or certified gold coins and bullion bars for as little as £50. All the gold they sell is VAT free. Their specialists are on hand to guide and support their customers. And if the time comes, Direct Bullion will even buy your gold back. That's why they're a top recommended precious metals dealer by the Spears 500. For your free Direct Bullion guide to buying gold, call 0800 055 7050.
No, just realised you're on the radio. No, that must be so. Let's retweeting the sign. Retweet with comment. And then add and comment paste. There we go.
Welcome back. The Conservative Party is facing accusations of spreading misinformation for the third time this week. The Tory press office published a video that appeared to show Labour candidate Jess Phillips hitting out at her own party's campaign promises. It has since amended the date stamp of the video, as seen in this clip.
You can never ever deliver all of those things that you're pretending that you can deliver when you go to the electorate.
Well, the Tory party had originally dated the clip with yesterday's date in what's been described as a blatant attempt to make it seem as though Phillips were referring to the Labour manifesto. The Conservatives' Twitter account amended the date, but did try to defend itself, saying the clip had been broadcast again today. But yesterday, the Conservatives posted a fake Labour manifesto online after they purchased the domain name labourmanifesto.co.uk. And on Tuesday evening, the party's press office changed the name of its Twitter account to Fact Check UK during the TV debate between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn. Well, it comes as Twitter's ban on political advertising goes into effect. CEO Jack Dorsey announced the policy last month, which will see all paid-for political promotions outlawed across the platform. At the time, Dorsey said he believed political messages should be earned, not bought. However, media and communications expert Dr. Dan Jackson thinks there's a chance the ban could bring about some unintended consequences.
If the estimates of Donald Trump's, $80 million of unearned coverage he apparently earned in 2016 election is anything to go by, then the big hitters or the biggest political parties are still able to get earned coverage through Twitter in mainstream media. So if that's anything to go by, then maybe it won't change that much. And actually, some have argued it hits the smaller parties more, because they're the ones who often use this to get the attention that they otherwise wouldn't, and they often use it to mobilise their own kind of like-minded supporters, etc. So I'm not sure it'll massively tilt the scales in terms of the power dynamics between the bigger parties and the less established ones, and in fact it may even work to the detriment of smaller parties.
Well, Dr. Jackson also says the Conservative Party's actions over the last few days could mark the beginning of a worrying new trend.
Whichever day we talk about this, there's something new to kind of be concerned about. So, in the last week we've had the Conservative Party emulating a fact-checking organisation. We've had them emulating Labour's manifesto homepage. We've had deepfakes. We've had other, manipulation of interviews from political opponents online that's been manipulated to look like something happened that it didn't happen. It seems to me that this is deliberate disinformation tactics. And as I said before, the role of journalism here is really important to bring attention to that, because journalists are independent of this process. I mean, in the context of political campaigning, of course we have to have free speech.
Wow.
But what we are increasingly seeing now is out and out lying.
Well, stay with us here on RT UK for special coverage of the general election campaign going all the way to December the 12th.
Order! Under the order of the House of today, the question is that there shall be an early parliamentary general election. As many as are allowed to be say aye.
So what's that? It's time.
Of the country, no.
15 degrees and it is 2020. It's 2020. The time base 2020. Brilliant, eh? 2020. On the tube.
Plunged into chaos after one of the busiest train lines announced it would be affected by strikes for most of December. South Western Railway had been in discussion with the Rail, Maritime and Transport Union over the future role of guards on trains. The union is concerned guards could become irrelevant as driver-only operated new trains come into service. The RMT has decided strikes are necessary after claiming the train operators refused to come to an
Apple
agreement.
Education, like your tweet. Apple Education, like my tweet.
Railway have not shown any intention
Eric
of
Stewart,
improving the issues that
like your
caused
tweet.
dispute.
Yeah, I like my tweet. Two
Despite
people.
verbal assurances in earlier
Yeah, it's going
discussions, it has become increasingly clear that they are not interested in reaching a settlement at this time. As a result of the company attitude, all planned action remains on, and the union is committed to ensuring the safest possible method of operation. RMT will remain available for discussions with the company at any time.
Well, South Western Railway operates to and from Waterloo, the UK's busiest station, serving around 600,000 journeys a day. The strikes will see around 17,000 trains cancelled across the festive period. Thursday, the 12th of December, is the only day currently unaffected by strike action. The rest of the month will see a drastically reduced service. SWR has described the strike action as needless.
We're very disappointed. Despite promising to keep guards on all our trains and promising that they will have a safety critical role, the talks broke down today. We believe these promises deliver on what the RMT has been asking for, so these strikes are unnecessary. We remain committed to finding a solution that works for our customers, and we remain open to talks if the RMT decides to reconsider its position.
Well, as of 2018, 30% of the UK's mainline train services are driver-only operated. Train companies say these services are better for passengers as they don't face delays to their journeys if a guard isn't available. But unions argue that it's not just about closing the doors. Guards also ensure the safety and security of passengers. Well, earlier I was joined by the Assistant General Secretary of the RMT, Steve Headley. He told me that the union and the company had agreed a deal weeks ago, but it was scrapped by South Western Railway without any explanation.
One concurrent viewer, or
safest method of dispatch
15 Celsius, and it is 20, 23, 24. In Berlin, it is 21, 24.
Are agreed on that. The only people
20,
that are agreed
24.
on it are the companies who wish to cut a few seconds here and there
2024,
off
so
dwell
4
times.
minutes behind.
But what's particularly bad about this strike is that we had a settlement in the bag 3 weeks ago. We reached a compromise where
I've
the
got lots of stuff to
driver
do
would
tomorrow,
open the doors,
so I'm feeling a bit tired.
the guard
I haven't had
would
my dinner yet either.
then close the
I haven't
doors
had dinner in a
and
minute.
be responsible for the safe dispatch of
Mend
the
my
train.
necklace. Oh, it's
And
been a
then
busy
without
day, busy
any
day.
explanation,
It's been a
the
good
company
busy
withdrew
day.
that from the
We've
table.
got a lot of stuff
Well, the
done.
timing there, Steve, I mean, it's pretty awful, isn't it, for millions of commuters? I mean, their Christmas travel plans will be ruined, won't they?
Well, that's right, and I can understand that they would be furious.
So
And,
CSI Pride ratio 002,
take a month strike action,
and it's
they're going to lose a month's
2025 in
money in the run
London.
up to Christmas because they
15
feel so
Celsius
strongly
in
about
this
this.
room, and outside
And I
is
can only
in
say
check.
that those commuters should really be on the phones to their prospective
And it is.
MPs, the people who are running around trying to
Hold on.
get their votes, and say you need to get this sorted out
Hold on,
because
anyway,
we can't
we're back
understand
here.
how
Anyway,
very, very
8
senior
degrees
managers
outside, so it's still
feel
quite
good
warm outside.
with very senior
And
union
we're 100%
officials,
charged.
and then
Feeling
that deal
over
was
there.
pulled.
We've
It's
got a
lots
phone
of
back, a
political
machine.
interference.
Do you want to look at my
Well, in the
machine? It's a
meantime, then, let's
machine.
also look at the arguments on both sides. I mean, are
You see
train
on
guards really
ABS, the
necessary
photo.
anyway? We don't
Yeah,
have
no.
them on the underground, so do we need them?
Well,
There we
crime
go.
on the
Right,
underground
that's-
has gone up 100%.
Yeah,
Violent
fine.
crime on the underground has gone up
I
100%
don't
in the
know
last
now.
5 years. Sexual assaults have gone up
Oh,
140%.
yeah, it's gone up.
Trap and
Yeah,
drag incidents have gone
There we go.
skyrocketed as well. So we
Yeah,
obviously
always
do need a
do.
guard, and what we have now
You
is
see
more and more
why that
passengers
go through.
using these trains. Their trains are becoming more and more crowded.
That's
The
my
platforms
phone.
are becoming more and more crowded. And the drivers themselves don't want the responsibility of having to
There's
ensure the safety of those
2026.
customers. That's why they would rather have a guard.
And I'll have more news for you at 9. Up next, it's Sophie & Co. That's coming up after a short break.
Hold on, there you go. There you go. You get a picture. It's a tube and it goes down and around. All touchscreen, like your ones. But they're just these are better machines. But, and the old ones, the old machine, 2017. That goes in my pocket. Yeah,
and benefit from your garden, whatever the weather. Call 08000 11 2200 and find out Crocodile can design and install a stylish winter garden for you. Creatively crafted. Crocodile
get it quickly.
Discover the Black Friday event at Thomas
Special one in the heavy like flyers.
Collection of handcrafted shutters, 3 for 2 on our intuitive smart blinds, effortlessly adjusted at the touch of a button, and 3 for 2 on our luxury collection of Roman blinds.
Okay, I'm looking a bit dark, aren't I?
Our
But
Black
I've got
Friday
it black
event
on.
ends on the
Don't
2nd
shine on me. I'll show you what I've got on.
688
I've got like a roll neck.
website to book your
There's a roll
personal
neck
design
here.
consultation.
Goes up
Thomas
over here,
Anderson,
like when I'm cold.
of Bespoke.
You know, like that. And I've got that. Which is like, he's like shining and fucking that. That's it, that's it. Body water, please. And that's a body water, please. That comes across right there. Do that all the time, tell you what goes on.
Great credit scores can make great things happen. Check your free score at Credit
That
Card.
goes out like that.
Progress.
And then you got the outer shell that comes across. And you got
Designed to add style,
the equipment in there.
and even value
That
to
goes
your
across
home.
like that. And this is a nice
Crocodile
top.
on
Very nice
08000
material, so
11
I don't know
2234.
if you see
Find
that.
out just how quick and simple they are to install. You'll
It's,
love the neat, space-saving design. And it's a double we use. But you
I
know
don't know
what
if
I
you see
love?
it, but there you go, that's
It's
basically it.
craftsmanship.
With the glasses on
It's
and the
cracking.
tree out,
It's crocodile style.
you know. The new era one, of course, it's just be a new era. You can see my ear. You know, okay, it's perfect, okay. That's how we do it. As you don't flip it around, you know, she's on the wrong side. I think it does that for me. When I go to my YouTube, it flips around the other way and it goes out. Without folding that picture, it'll go in that way a bit. There we go.
I'm Sophie Shepard. Now, say genetics and biology are promising to bring about revolutionary changes in the way humans live. And as we learn today how to change our DNA, I mean, the possible implications are just mind-blowing. From getting rid of diseases to programming unborn babies. Well, today I sit down with a revolutionary scientist and a molecular engineer, Dr. George Church, to talk about all that. Professor George Church, thank you very much for being on our program today.
Okay.
So, genome sequencing and gene editing is something like the internet in the 80s, on the brink to explode. Those are your words. So do you mean to say that doing genome editing will be just like surfing the news on a Sunday morning with a cup of coffee?
It's possible. I mean, it's hard to rule out that scenario, just like there are many drugs that we pop without prescription. That might be one of them. Right now, that's not the case, but there are many pharmaceuticals that we take without thinking about them that much.
So when you say that genome editing is on the brink of explosion, what exactly do you mean?
Well, it is both reading and writing of genomes, which are intimately connected, are on an exponential, they're not on the brink of explosion, they are literally exploding. If you follow the cost curves, they're doubling in months, not years. They're doubling faster than the internet and computing is. And that change in cost structure and the impact it has on things that we care about, meaning the health of our children and ourselves, that's probably means it will, it's not something to ignore.
Well, I mean, I heard that you can actually conduct genome engineering at home. You don't even have to be a scientist to do that, right? You can just order a desired DNA sample over the internet. It's like $10. Get it delivered, inject it. If that's the case, why don't people modify themselves time to time?
Well, you can also order all sorts of chemicals at home too, but most people don't have the know-how or the unmet need, okay? But people do inject themselves with gene therapies. There are a few known cases, and probably
On an amateur level, you
on
mean?
an amateur level, people inject themselves with maybe some little assistance outside of the standard biomedical research practice.
Do we know what that has resulted into?
I think not much has come of it because, for most impactful medicines to take root, they have to go through clinical trials. Ideally double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized clinical trials. And that is just starting, and the amateurs are not likely to influence that.
Would you be open to experimenting on yourself? I mean, would you inject a gene fix into yourself and take a risk for the sake of science?
Yes. I mean, I have been a guinea pig in many research studies ever since my mother and father essentially did amateur research on me, which is probably within the law. But I would want to participate in a study that is a randomized clinical trial, something that has some chance of producing reproducible and useful information, not just something where it's a one-off, uncontrolled study where I'm just doing it to myself.
So do I understand correctly that you've already been subject to experiments within the...
I've been a research subject in experiments most of my life. Yeah.
What kind of experiments? Like, how did it change you? What happened?
For example, I was, the more formal ones started in college. I was involved in psychological experiments. I was involved in nutrition experiments, and I'm one of the main research subjects in the Personal Genome Project since the very beginning, a study that I started.
So have your eyes become blue after that, or they've been like that ever since you were born?
I have not done, I'm not aware of any experiments that affect eye color other than putting on contact lenses. But I probably would not participate in that kind of study because I don't see a tremendous benefit.
Serious gene medical therapy is now very expensive, right? The price tag for the recently approved medication that can actually somehow cure inherited blindness is about $1 million, and that's something that 99% of the population can't really afford, right? Does it make sense to produce something that most of the people would never able to buy?
Well, so yes, $1 million is the cost for not just for gene therapy, but for a variety of orphan drugs under the Orphan Drug Act in the United States, things that affect rare diseases. And I've spent most of my career bringing down the costs of technologies, both reading and writing genomes and now therapeutics. And it's certainly my ambition to bring down those costs. You don't want to deprive people of life-saving treatments if their part of society can't afford it. But I totally agree that the goal should be to make treatments nearly free. And by the way, gene therapy is not the only way of treating some of these diseases. Many of these diseases can be prevented by genetic counseling, which is not $1 million, but is closer to $1,000.
But let's talk about the genetic editing a little bit, because see how right now it's expensive. I mean, I don't know, maybe in 10, 20, 30, 50 years time, it's going to be affordable for everyone, but right now it is very expensive. Do you think gene therapy can cause a sort of a surge in DNA and create a genetic racism divide? I mean, already right now there's such a huge gap between rich and poor, right? So if the rich people are the only ones who can afford those kind of things, I mean, they will be even healthier, and will never die, and then you have, the rest of the world, they're just going to be deteriorating. Do you see my point?
I do.
Do you think they think that can create that DNA?
No, I worry about it, but I don't think that, I'm not predicting that it will happen. I worry about it to prevent it. And the way I think we prevent it is, well, first of all, it's not racial, it's rich versus poor.
Okay, different castes of people, like rich people versus poor people, and they're always happy and healthy, and the caste of the poor are just unhealthy and dying like they were
right. So
dying
my
out.
point is that the solution is not to say that it's inevitable that there will be this divide. It's to say what can we do to bring down the cost and get education and equitable distribution. And we've done that for some technologies. For example, smallpox affects everybody in the world, all 7.5 billion people. There is no one that is exempt from that benefit. We should have an ambition to do that for every subsequent medical technology, and I think we can do it. Probably quickly, not 50 years from now, but much faster than that.
So that picture, I'm doing this
here. And I want to prevent all this. What exactly do you do to prevent that from happening?
Nice.
Yeah,
What I do is
That's lovely.
to accelerate the arrival of equitable
I'm getting
distribution
sorry, I'm
technology
camera
to
for
bring the
Andre.
cost down. So
He's
we
doing
work
this.
to bring the cost
See,
of reading
that's how
genomes
he's
down by
doing.
3 million fold.
You go on
The
that,
cost of
yes.
editing is plummeting at the same rate.
Yeah,
I believe that for most genetic diseases, they can be addressed by gene therapy, which is more a reading
It was a bit scruffy, right? It's
distribution
not
problem
finished.
than
No,
an
but
Like,
yeah,
this
it's
is like,
lovely.
this is like,
many and most of these
Right,
can be
this
addressed.
So this is like what I've been doing all week. That's a crash
And
report.
then another huge topic is age reversal. And you've said it's what, like matter of maybe 10 years time that this is going to be really tangible in terms of results. What exactly do you mean? I mean,
22nd yesterday, 21st
are we going to
yesterday.
get rid of wrinkles and, you know, our
just
bodies are going to be more toned all of a sudden when we're 60 and we look like we're 20? Or are you talking about internal organs, like our heart is going to get better, like when we're 20, or our
Yeah, I don't-
blood vessels? I don't know.
I don't consider wrinkles a public health threat, so I'm not.
That's because you're not a woman.
I mean, I realize that society has that society
I have
has
my
biases
budget.
that can result in different economies for the aged, and therefore, and having a
rearrange it and like
income could
work
result
out my
in poor
budget
medical
for the
care.
day,
So
and that's my
it is
budget up.
Oh yeah.
That's my budget for
That
the day.
said, I think what we're aiming for age reversal is not necessarily a decade away. We've already had evidence
See
for
what
age
you're doing,
reversal
with
in
that
several
black
different
thick pen and pen.
ways in
That way, and we're going to use
in mice.
F pen.
And so then we're
I've got
putting
new
those
pen,
into gene
so
therapies,
good.
multiple
New
gene
pen, so
therapies
get it.
in
Got
testing
the
in
black
pre-aged
one,
mice
that's a powder one.
and then pre-aged
The
dogs
F pen
and then
out.
eventually human.
Okay,
And the goal
there we
is to
That's
make
it here
us more
now, so we're
resilient
gonna
to
cross off
damage
the payday
to
too.
our various
We haven't
organ
paid
systems.
one gut, so they're
And
going to
to
have
deal
to wait.
with diseases of
Done that.
aging by hitting at the core
Okay, so this one we have to do
that makes us
one gut. We
less
need to phone
functional
one gut tomorrow
as we get
and
into our 80s and 90s.
work it
Age
out with
reversal
them.
right now has nothing to do with the
They
way
give
we
me a
look.
good deal,
It's
like
something
to
about making our system, our
cancel my
organism
debt
more
with them.
stable, healthier,
Ruth I
and,
gave
you
the
know,
money to, so that's done.
resistant
My
to
daily budget is now
diseases.
not 100,
It
it's
could
gone
affect
down
the way we
to
look, but that's not the
30.
objective. The objective is to hit
So
on
30.
major organ
Until
systems
Wednesday.
that
I think I got
really
30
affect your
now.
health, like your immune system,
something like that, so 30.
your heart,
So put it in to
prevention of cancer and
30.
so forth.
But you know
till
it's not,
Wednesday.
it's going to be
That's
a
fine.
big
Ruth's
topic,
getting
whether
the
it's going to be
Python was
only
getting
about
food.
health or the way we look.
And I've got
Should
30
gene
pounds.
editing be limited to just
Last
curing
week to Wednesday,
illnesses?
which shouldn't be a
Because,
problem.
I'm
I've got everything I
thinking
need.
messing with DNA
Like all my
works,
stuff I
risk
need
for me
today.
having a bigger muscle
You know,
or
so
size.
I got
Is
everything
there
I
a
needed
line
and brought
that
like
we
a
shouldn't cross
couple of tops for me and my
when
friend
it
for
comes to gene
business.
editing
And brought a couple of tops for
and,
me.
you know,
So
medical
I
gene
left with
editing?
£30
I'm
now.
not I think
So,
we tend
a
to
week
draw
until
lines in the
Wednesday.
wrong places. It doesn't mean there isn't a line.
Pay my
or
bills.
maybe it's a blurry
Pay
line.
my
It's just
people
like,
lent
for
money
example,
for.
driving a car.
Bought some stuff.
There's no real physics line at 55
So
miles
that's
per
done,
hour.
that's done, that's done.
That
Alan's
is a
phone
law that we
is done,
cannot
so
set
you
an
can
arbitrary
get that.
place
But it's
on.
not Alan's
You know,
phone, my
it
phone,
is
I'm giving
unsafe
my
to go
phone. I'm
at
getting a
100 miles an
budget
hour.
of £100 now.
And it's, but
Let's
we
work
set the
out what we
line at
need to do
55.
next. So here,
And I'll
we'll
say
put
I
it
think the
here.
same thing's
So
true
we'll get
for,
payment
you know,
on that for
if you really want
5th
blue eyes, then wear blue
4th
contact lenses.
December. Or the 5th.
That
I think
we're
it's
not
the
going to
5th.
ban blue contact
December,
lenses.
look at my
If you want to
diary.
have a different color hair, you dye your hair. Most of the things we want to augment, change ourselves for fashion statement or augment ourselves, like if we want to be faster, then we get a fast car or a jet. Or, you know, we don't need to have faster muscles. That doesn't help the average individual. It's adequate that we can get from one place to another faster than our ancestors ever imagined.
We're going to
Right,
take
so
a
okay,
break
so
right
we
now,
got
Professor. When
4th
we're back, we'll continue talking to Professor
of
George
5th of December.
Church. We'll talk more about how the genome sequencing and gene editing will affect humanity in the future. Stay with us.
That's the next budget. Yeah, so we can make another sheet when we get closer to a date. So we've only got 2 weeks to wait, and we've got £30 last till Wednesday. I don't know the date on Wednesday. Let me look. I'll look in a minute. So Wednesday. I think today's 20. I can't work out. Doesn't matter. So that's the budget.
Great credit scores can make great things happen. Check your free score at Credit Karma. Here's to progress.
Right, that's cool. So Wednesday we get some £150. Maybe £150 on Wednesday, raise down. 100, 150.
I'm giving you 100.
100, okay, to last me a week, that's perfect. 100 then to last me till the following Thursday.
Our Black Friday event ends on the 2nd of December. Call 0800
what is the
688
4th, 5th,
8133
6th,
now,
there we go,
or visit
today.
our website to book your personal design consultation.
5th.
Thomas Sanderson, the beauty of bespoke.
What's not to love about a crocodile garage door? Designed to add style, security,
Okay, that's cool.
and even value to your home. Call Crocodile on 08000 11 2234 and find out just how quick and simple they are to install. You'll love their
that's
neat,
cool.
space-saving design.
So that's cool.
Is
So
that
that's
not
last
you?
week, man.
But you know what I
Wednesday,
love?
so that's fucking
The
perfect.
craft.
That's cool, innit? I've got enough money
It's
then, mate.
cracking.
Yeah,
It's
I've got
crocodile.
my cheap new tops, I've got everything I need.
you've got everything you
And
want.
I've got
Spend
everything I
2
want.
minutes on Trussell
So
to
that's
find out
fine.
if
I've
you're
got
paying too
some
much for your
loads
mortgage for
financially, so
free.
phone me yesterday and watch the
Well
video.
done,
You
Russell.
tell me
My
like.
name's Neil.
Trussell, the home of home
Okay,
ownership.
so we should have a look.
Sometimes it's nice to own something
Put
real
it down.
that you can
You're
hold in
right,
your
baby.
hand. And one day,
You gonna
pass
have your
on to
dinner
a
now?
loved one.
I would have surely done, and I'm not hungry at the
We
moment.
need to have a drink, yeah?
Everything I
Yeah,
need to know. So I
Have
can
beverage,
start my
have a
own
drink.
collection of
Yeah,
gold
let's all
coins
have a
and
drink.
bars.
Okay, I'm gonna switch off now and then we're gonna talk to Pine Good and
And the
private.
specialist on hand to try and support their customers.
I may put a private video up
Guide to buying gold.
later. I keep recording and streaming, but it won't be live on here. I'm gonna end the stream now. And then we'll talk next time. So that's a 30-minute stream, just over. Good night and goodbye. I'll see you in the morning. Bye.